Hi everybody, my name is Will Terry, and here's my pitch for a new Star Wars movie. At Star Wars Celebration, they announced all the new upcoming feature films for Star Wars. One that really stuck out to me was the sequel of a Rey Skywalker film. And I thought to myself, yeah, so I'm not the biggest fan of the sequel trilogies, true, but if they were to come to me and say, hey Will, why don't you write us a sequel to the Rey Skywalker story, what would I write? So I thought about it, and I decided it's only fair for me to actually come up with a pitch based off of what they've already said at Star Wars Celebration. So Kathleen Kennedy at Star Wars Celebration said that the Rey sequel would take place 15 years later, showing Rey and the start of her new Jedi Academy. So I used that as the basis for my pitch. So here we go. It's time for me to give you my pitch for a Rey Skywalker sequel film. First thing I want to talk about is tone. I really would like this film to be separate from the Skywalker saga. This film needs to start off right off the bat, letting people know this is the Star Wars universe you love, but this is not a classic Star Wars film. This is going to be something different. We are not with the Skywalkers anymore. This isn't a galactic war. This isn't the First Order coming in to destroy everything. This film takes place around a school. Even though this takes place around the school isn't the main focus. I'm following the tones of franchises like Harry Potter and My Hero Academia, where the school is the base, but the majority of the film is going to take place off-world, somewhere outside of the school. We will be at the school, but the majority of the film will take place outside. Alright, so the setup to the film is it's been 15 years since the rise of Skywalker. Rey started a Jedi Academy. Now Rey's Academy follows the Jedi teachings, but similar to the differences between the Catholic Church and the Episcopal Church, Rey's Jedi don't follow all the rules of the original Jedi. For instance, her Jedis can have attachments. They can have families and children. Also, if you attend her academy, you do not have to become a Jedi. You can go there just to learn how to deal with your connection to the Force and how to use your powers. Finally, once graduated, Rey's Jedis are not connected to any form of government. They're kind of like the Peace Corps. They go where they're needed or where people ask them to go. So that's the backstory. Let's get into the actual plot of the film. The film opens with Jacen Syndulla, the child of Hera and Kanan, who's now in his late 40s, who I'd love to be played by Freddie Prinze Jr., the voice of Kanan, and Rey. And the two of them are out on a mission. When we meet up with them, they are on the run, being attacked by a giant Sith robot. These robots appeared in The Bad Batch, Season 2, so I'm using that as kind of the background for this story. The Sith robot is going wild and attacking Jacen and Rey, and they're running. Jacen has in his possession the power crystal for this robot, and he's trying to figure out how to turn the robot off. He can't do it. They're running, there's nothing they can do. They see a town, and the robot is heading towards that town. They run ahead of the robot and try and get everyone to leave the town. The townspeople are freaking out. They're saying, we don't want to leave, but you need to stop this robot. And they're saying, we can't. We don't know how to stop this robot. Well, there's a little girl in the town. Her name is Miria. And she looks at them and says, why don't you just turn the robot off? Jacen, being frustrated, looks at her and says, and how do you propose we do that? We've tried everything. She grabs a crystal out of his hands, and using her mind, she starts to shift the crystal into different shapes. And as she's doing it, the robot's getting closer and closer. She's shifting the crystal, and she finally gets it into place, and snap! The robot stops. Rey and Jacen are in shock. They look up at the robot, they look down at Miria, and then Rey says to Miria, hey, where do you go to school? And here is where we cut to the crawl. So unlike the original Star Wars films, these films are going to have a crawl after an opening scene, kind of like a James Bond film. I want to separate these films from the Skywalker saga, but I want to have the crawl. I really felt it was missing from films like Solo and Rogue One, so I think the crawl has a place, it just shouldn't be in the same spot as it was in the other Star Wars film. The crawl will explain everything I explained earlier about it being 15 years later, so on and so forth, and it will also explain that the actual film present day is 5 years after this incident we've just witnessed. So it's 5 years later, and we open up at Rey's school, and we see a day in the life at Rey's Jedi Academy. It's very apparent to us that Rey's Academy is different than the classic Jedi Order. People are having more fun, they're using their powers in silly ways as well as serious ways, they're learning different ways to utilize the Force. Hu Yang, the robot from the Ahsoka series, is in my pitch. If he doesn't survive, the character can be replaced by almost anyone. I love this character, so I'd love to have the droid Hu Yang as part of the Academy if he survives the Ahsoka series. We see Hu Yang, we see Jason, we see Rey, they're training up the kids. A message comes in letting the Jedi know that another Sith weapon has been found and that some mercenaries are trying to excavate it. Jason decides to take his top student Miria with him to investigate this, as they both have experience with Sith weapons. When Jason arrives on the planet, he and Miria find that they're too late. The mercenaries are already in the process of excavating this Sith weapon. When Miria sees the number of mercenaries, she asks Jason if they should call for backup. Jason says, no, we don't need to call for backup, we can handle this. So they decide that their best bet is to find the control crystal instead of trying to stop them from excavating. So they go on a hunt for the control crystal for this giant Sith weapon. Back at the Academy, Rey is training the students, and she finds out from Hu Yang that she has a visitor. The visitor is none other than Maz Kanata. Maz shows up with some grave news. She's letting Rey know that one of her former students is now on trial and will be given the death penalty if found guilty. Rey leaves the students in Hu Yang's care and takes off to go to the planet where her former student is. On this planet, she finds out that the reason that her student is being accused is there's video evidence of a robbery of a credit bank, and the evidence shows obvious use of Force abilities. And since Rey's former student is the only person on the planet that people know have the Force, he is being blamed. Rey knows that her student is not guilty, so she begins to search the planet for other Force users. While Rey is investigating, someone on planet sends a message to their friends who are orbiting the planet that houses the Jedi Academy. They let their friends know that Rey is confirmed to be off-world and that the Academy is unprotected by Jedi. With this knowledge, people orbiting the planet send a probe down onto the surface. Back with Jason and Miria, they have been trying hard to find the control crystal for the Sith weapon. They find a couple of clues in their investigation and head towards where they believe the key crystal will be. When they arrive, they find more mercenaries, and the mercenaries have the crystal. They attack the mercenaries and grab the crystal, making a run for it. Unfortunately, during their escape, the crystal is taken by an alien who has the ability to move very fast. This alien takes the crystal back to the main body of the Sith weapon. Jason and Miria have no choice but to go to the Sith weapon and try to stop them from activating it. Back to Rey and Maz, who are investigating further into this credit heist. Through their detective work, they find a group of young criminals who all have the ability to use the Force. Rey and Maz confront them about the criminal actions, and they are attacked. Rey and Maz make short work of these young Force users and ask them to come clean of what they've done to free Rey's student. They say they would never do that because of the person they're working for. It does not take much pressure from Rey to find out that these criminals are working for a local politician who has threatened them with their lives if they don't follow suit with what he has said. Rey decides to pay this politician a visit. As this is happening, the probe at the Jedi Academy returns to the ship. The mercenaries aboard the ship have discovered that there's only one training droid and a bunch of students at the Academy. They mount a strike force and go on planet. Rey approaches the politician at a factory. He comes clean. He admits to everything. He also admits that he has the Sith weapon from the beginning of the film on his planet in this factory. And all they need for this weapon to work is the control crystal. Rey tells him, well, too bad. The control crystal is in here. And the politician says, yeah, I know. The control crystal is at your academy, where my men are right now. And he brings up a live feed of his men storming the academy. The politician is smug and says, it's just a bunch of kids and a droid. Rey smiles and says, it's no normal droid. Here is where Hu Yang gets his shining moment. He goes into action. The mercenaries that attack Hu Yang are dressed in the same fashion as the ones that Jason and Miria are dealing with on another planet. Here we cut back to Jason and Miria. They are sneaking up on the Sith weapon and the mercenaries. The mercenaries have already discovered how to turn on the weapon. They've activated it. Jason and Miria try their best to get to the Sith weapon before it fully powers up. Problem is, there's so many mercenaries they're being held back. Jason here gives the classic, "I've got a bad feeling about this" line, and says to Miria that he really wishes that they had actually called for backup. Miria smiles and said, "Well, I'm happy that I did call for backup. I don't know if they'll get here on time." Jason laughs and says, "This is why you're the best apprentice." The two of them go back to trying to assault the Sith weapon. Jason and Miria are way outnumbered and their backup is nowhere to be found. Likewise, Hu Yang is outnumbered. He's doing his best, but due to the greater numbers of the mercenaries, Hu Yang ultimately has to surrender for the safety of the students. Back with Jason and Miria, they're doing their best. Things are looking bleak. But then, out of nowhere, from above, comes help. In the form of Finn and his two young partners, as they sweep down and attack the Sith weapon. Finn's trio is very interesting. Two of the group are using the Force, Finn and a young lady. They use lightsabers and Force powers to fight the Sith weapon. The third member is dressed similar to a Mandalorian, but the way it attacks is more of a mix of Batman and Iron Man. I guess it would be kind of like a techno ninja instead of a Mandalorian. With the help of Finn's trio, Jason and Miria are able to remove the control crystal from the Sith weapon and stop the mercenaries. Back with Rey, the politician, fully smug and really full of himself now, tells Rey, "Listen, you've lost. There's nothing you can do. So this is what's going to happen. You're going to tell your droid to get me the control crystal for this here Sith weapon, and he's going to give it, and then I'll let your Padawans live." Rey says to him, "How about I offer you a counteroffer?" She goes into action. Boom! Lightsaber out directly at the neck of the politician. Politician freaks out and says, "What are you doing? You know, my men will kill your Padawan." And Rey says, "Well, I suggest that you tell your men to stand down." You know, the politician doesn't understand what Rey's talking about. He obviously has the upper hand. His men have guns on children. What is she going to do? And she says, "I'm just saying, I really think that you should have your men stand down." And then we hear the roar of a Wookiee. She says, "Oh, it's too late. Looks like this universe's oldest living Jedi has decided to join the fight." And here we get our first look at a fully grown, fully menacing Gungi, the Wookiee Jedi. He goes to work, destroying everyone with his strength, his power, and a little bit of the Force in there as well. With the politician in custody, Rey offers the Force-using criminals a place at her academy. The majority of the criminals turn her down, but one student does agree to come along and learn at the academy. This student's name is Uked. As Jason and Miria help the people on the planet clean up after the mercenaries' mess, we learn a little bit more about what Finn's been up to. After he finishes training with Rey, he went off on his own. He didn't want to be a part of the academy anymore. He wasn't happy with sitting and waiting. He's a soldier and he wanted to be on the front line, helping people instead of waiting to be called upon. So he took his two children and went out to help people around the galaxy. At the end of the film, we're back at our school where all of the heroes watch the students as they go through their morning moves. They discuss this new criminal cabal who are gathering ancient Sith weapons. They know this is not the end, and they will be prepared. The true final scene of the film gives us a look at the new big bad for this series of films. They're a mobster named Mystery, an alien that doesn't look too intimidating but is very dangerous. Think of Silco from the Arcane series, someone who isn't very intimidating looking but is very, very dangerous. Now, Mystery doesn't use the Force, but due to his alien DNA, he has several powers and is very, very strong. Due to the alien race's natural abilities, the First Order actually tested different types of genetic manipulation on Mystery, making them even more powerful than they naturally were. This, of course, we don't really get to see until future movies. I'm just kind of letting you know about this villain and how powerful they are physically as well as mentally. Though Mystery is not happy about losing a pocket politician as well as two Sith weapons, they are very happy about what they gained from the events of this film, which the audience learns in the last shot is the group of young Force-using criminals. They have now joined Mystery to bolster his ranks and give him Force users along with his mercenaries. Alright everybody, that's the end of my pitch for a Rey sequel film. I think I want to call it something like Weapons of Old or Ancient Evil or something to that effect. But as I said, the tone of this film is going to be slightly different. Things are going to be smaller in scope and feel. This isn't a universal problem. These are criminals trying to steal weapons to make themselves more powerful. This is a small school of people who are trying to help as many people as they can, but they're not trying to police and govern the whole galaxy. They just want to do good and use the Force for good. I hope you enjoyed this pitch. If you did, could you please do me a favor and like and subscribe to this channel? I plan to do more pitches. The whole idea behind this channel is me pitching for IPs that I don't own, that are huge, that really, they're not going to steal my ideas because they're so huge. But I would love to work for any of these IPs. I'm not a professional screenwriter, but I would love to be. I plan to be in the near future, and this is just a great way for me to get my ideas out. Thank you for your time. Have a great day, and may the Force be with you.